Hello and welcome to another episode of Histories Heroes. My name is Djaji Prime and today we're talking about political activist, revolutionary Angela Davis. Now Angela Davis, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is a revolutionary and political activist who rose to prominence around the 60s and 70s due to her involvement with the Black Panthers and also the Communist Party. Angela Davis was born Angela Yvonne Davis on January the 26th, 1944 in Birmingham, Alabama. Now, Angela Davis is an activist and someone who advocates for the rights of everybody. She's done a lot of work on black rights or rights of African Americans, women's rights, and is also a prison abolitionist. She believes that prisons should not exist in our societies. And she's done an extensive amount of research on prisons. She calls prisons the prison industrial complex, a term which I'm sure a lot of people are getting more familiar with now. Basically, she analyzes how during the era of Ronald Reagan, there was a disbandment of social welfare and there was a rapid increase in the construction of prisons. And these prisons were sort of situated in Latino and predominantly African American areas, and also that these prisons kept their prisoners in a perpetual cycle of slavery. While you're in prison, you're essentially a slave, so you can work for free and nobody has to pay you anything. Angela Davis has sort of advocated that prison reforms doesn't go far enough, that in fact prisons should be disbanded completely. Now, Angela Davis, like I said at the very beginning, used to be a member of the Communist Party until 1991. Some of her activities or her affiliation with the Communist Party wasn't exactly seen as good by the government. Like I said, she was banned from teaching in the state of California. She had actually gone to jail because an individual named Jonathan Jackson had tried to sort of prison break 3 individuals who were in a court hearing, and the gun that he used in this holdup was linked to Angela Davis. Like, the gun was purchased under her name, and also that this individual had been in contact with Angela Davis. So Angela Davis was charged with conspiracy. She's the 3rd woman in history to be on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list, so she is indeed a badass. She was acquitted of those charges, but after that she sort of traveled around to places like Cuba, and I would say that she's someone who's very well versed in a lot of topics. She's talked about feminism and black feminism and sort of addressed the difference between the white feminist movement and the black feminist movement, and how prior to sort of the feminist movement, while white women tended not to work, they were just seen as, housewives and taking care of the home. Black women actually had to work because they were seen as property and not as individuals. So I would say Angela Davis is a great intellectual, someone who I admire, and I recommend that if you want to be an activist or into, these kinds of historical struggles or civil rights movement, I think one individual that you definitely do need to do a bit of research on and read a few of her books is Angela Davis. She sort of symbolizes the ability that a woman can do anything. Like, she's a lecturer, she's an activist, she's a writer. There isn't anything that she can't do. In fact, something interesting that she's brought up about both Ronald Reagan and George Bush is the fact that these individuals, while they may have appeared to be clumsy or dumb, they were actually people who had a lot of advisors and people around them doing their makeup and telling them what to do. They were well scripted individual. I think that was her exact, that they are well scripted individuals. Another thing she points out in her works on feminism is how black women were told they could either be in the civil rights movement for black people or they could be in the women movement, that they couldn't be in both. So she's done a lot of work on, like I said, socialism and Marxism. She's done a lot of work on prison reforms or prison abolition, and she's also done a lot of work on race. I think I find her work to be quite fascinating, and she does go into extensive detail on these kinds of things. Like I said, she was affiliated with the Black Panthers and she has defended the movement of the Black Panthers severally. She said that the Black Panthers were responsible for introducing social programs like free breakfast for students at schools. Angela Davis herself has said that the guns were more symbolic than they were like literal means of agitation or aggression. They were just more symbolic of, you know, that kind of revolutionary feel. Speaking of revolutions, Angela Davis has an interesting quote which I'd like to share with you. She said that the real content of any kind of revolutionary thrust lies in the principles with which you are fighting for and not in the ways you reach them.
You get there by confrontation, violence?
Oh, is that the question you were asking?
Yeah.
See, that's another thing. When you talk about a revolution, most people think violence, without realizing that the real content of any kind of revolutionary thrust lies in the principles and the goals that you're striving for, not in the way you reach them. On the other hand, because of the way this society is organized, because of the violence that exists on the surface everywhere, you have to expect that there are going to be such explosions. You have to expect things like that as reactions.
So yeah, I thought that was interesting. But anyway, that's my little video on Angela Davis. I hope you learned something about Angela Davis, and maybe you can go check out, you know, her books or her content. There are a large number of her lectures available on YouTube. I'll leave some links in the description below. There are also, you know, a lot of her books. I'll leave some of my favorite books of hers in the description below. Be sure to check that out and, you know, empower yourself with some knowledge. My name is Djaji Prime and this was Histories Heroes. I hope you guys enjoyed this series and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to leave a like. If you're new around here, why not click subscribe? I hope you have a blessed day and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.